Welcome everyone to my channel. This is Jacqueline Jax, and I have a really amazing watercolor group. You know, if you love watercolor or you're just learning watercolor, then by all means, please go in the description box and go check out what we have going on, because we've been building a really special place on Facebook, and it's a group for beginners. People who just want to learn and share and be part of a community. So I would love to have you there. What you're looking at here is this month's subscription box, and it is a watercolor subscription box aimed at teaching. So there's a variety of things happening in these boxes every single month, and a lot of different things going on. I'm going to open this one and we're going to do the painting challenge, where you can actually win a $25 gift card if you want to join. So if you've just joined the subscription, then you probably are looking at this beautiful watercolor from Schmincke. This is a really pretty color. It's a shimmer, it's a quarter pan, and this is actually a limited edition from them, and I don't know that they're even selling these anywhere else. We might be the only one with them. I haven't really thought to ask, but apparently I can't find them anywhere. This is a gorgeous color. So you would have gotten this and probably something like this. It's like a swatch card to swatch out your color. And how you would use it is you would just simply put as much of the color here, and then you can blend out the color and even mix the color or layer it over other colors. And that's how these sheets are used. So when you get a featured watercolor, typically as we move and progress from month to month and make this even better, I try to put in something that's unique and different as a way for you to learn about the watercolor that you're getting. Everything in the packages is all professional watercolor. So typically you're going to get Schmincke or a mixture of Daniel Smith and My Mary Blue. The other watercolors, of course, by me, and White Nights. So you can experiment. You can really the purpose of having so many different really beautiful professional colors is so that you can experiment with different things. So if you signed up in the early days, we had a basic subscription level, which is pretty much almost canceled out at this point. And what that entailed was originally a dot card like this, and then, which is the challenge card, and then a featured paint, which was an additional paint, and then a dot card or maybe a couple of others. So you got a decent amount of colors to try out and experiment with. And then there was a paper sampler. So there would be this great paper sampler filled with different kinds of papers. Some of you would get 100% cotton paper. I do try to label them, or at least in the video tell you what these are. So let's just go through some of the papers that were in this month. And some people got different ones, right? So if you were in the basic subscription, of course the paper would be smaller cards than in the duo subscription. So in the basic subscription, you probably got Canson 300 GSM cold press, which is a great learning paper. So it's just a very smooth surface. It is not 100% cotton. It is a learning paper, so it's really affordable. Now in this next month, I'm going to send you guys another affordable paper by Winsor & Newton, which has been recently on sale and done some pretty good reviews for me, so I wanted to send you some of that paper to try out. But this is Canson XL. The other one here that is textured is like a rough texture, so it's a cold press rough texture. This is 100% cotton with a side. You can paint on both sides. So this is a cotton that you can paint on this side as a smooth, so it's great for printing or line work. And then if you wanted more of the textured finish, you can paint it on the rough side. So it is a two-sided paper, even though there's only rough on one side, but it's meant to be like that, and I actually love it. I'm going to put this in these new sketchbooks that I'm releasing this next month. So you're going to see sketchbooks come out that are beautiful papers inside, and a mix of papers, from some tone paper to this paper, and also some virgin cotton paper. as well in different weights, so you can try different things. You know, everything is about experimentation and learning with me. It's not here just to define it necessarily in one way or the other. Everything you're experiencing in this subscription is going to teach you something and walk you through at least a 12 months journey of different colors and different things, you know, different perspectives, different things to paint. And you're joining like 61,000 people in our group that are all kind of going through these challenges and going together. So whether you upgraded to the Duo subscription, which is the upgrade, or you stayed with the Dot, you got an inspirational card, which is a written card from me. And sometimes they are printed on the back, and on the back if there's printing on the back, which I'm kind of moving towards this next month, then it would list what is in the box that you got, and also any kind of scan tags that we might have available. So that's going to start. So check the back of your cards. If there's nothing there, it's just because you got it pretty early. It was like the first run. As we went more towards the end of the subscription, I did start printing on the back of these cards because I had some ideas, and I'm constantly like just kind of challenging myself to come up with different ideas. So anyway, if you have a dot card, just add a little water to it. These should be enough dots to do quite a bit of paint and experiment with this. And if you do want larger samples, they're usually available on my website at Jack's Watercolor. The next thing that a lot of people got in their subscription box was this challenge card, and this is a color chart. So basically, when you're doing something like this, you just want to wet the dots. They should re-wet very, very easily. And you're going to first just experiment with the actual colors, right? So we have yellow, we have a beautiful blue. This is a Prussian blue, by the way, on this card. It's a gorgeous Prussian blue by Mission Gold. And this is the Permanent Yellow Light by Mission Gold. And then the red that I chose was Rose Madder. I love these three together because they're going to give you some really clean mixes. So there's a method to my madness here. It's to teach you how to mix colors. So again, if you take this one and you take this one and you mix them together, you're going to get violet. So that's just how you do that. You can do it any way you like. You can mix it into something first and then put it on the paper. You can just dump it all on the paper. You can, you know, keep part here and part here. You know what I mean? And then the one that's more red will go here. So if you do one layer of red and then just take a little bit of blue and work it in, then you'll see that you're developing something that's leaning more towards the red. So it's more of a, like a, I don't know, I would say more of a rosy violet, right? And you could even go as far as to get, you know, really, really like heavy bit of color. You can see as this wets, it's really going to start getting more and more concentrated. You can even do half and half like that. And then on this side, you're going to take more of the blue. So I would just go a lot heavier with the blue and then add a little bit of the red until you get a color that is more leaning blue that you like, you know, and then you can easily just, again, pull the colors that you like out so you can kind of see what's going on with them and like even mix them together. I mean, there's like room there's to do stuff on the card, which is fun. Now this is a Christmas red that is actually one of my own colors. So you can additionally mix that in as your red if you want to try. This is a more blue red and this is a more warm red, and I did that on purpose so that you would just have that experience. Let's put some yellows here and put some yellows. Now, primaries are the three basics, which is yellow, red, and blue. No matter what yellow, red, and blue, right? All of them. So primary is a yellow, primary red, and primary blue. The secondary colors are the direct mix of like the two primaries. So if I take blue and then I take yellow and I mix them together, I'm going to get green, and that's called a secondary color because it's two primaries mixing together to get another color. But then if you take the secondary color and you mix it more over with some more. It's going to be a tertiary because it's a third level color, right? Because I'm going to take the green and then I'm going to mix it. And so a lot of people will say it's a yellow green as a way to explain it. Or they'll say it's a blue green, right? Because I'm taking some of the blue and adding it to some of the green. Now, to me, tertiary colors make great paintings because if you only have 2 or 3 colors that they're using in your painting, and then you use mixes of those colors in your painting, you're going to have a gorgeous painting that really looks like it was supposed to go together. You know, if you're pulling more than 3 basic colors, what happens is it can kind of look like a big old mess. So I don't know if you've ever had mud or a lot of issues with your colors. I'm just mixing on paper right now just to show you that you can do it. So if I go here and I add this orange back to the yellow, I get a yellow orange, right? And if I go here and I add this orange to more of my pinky red, I get a red orange. And again, the shade that you're going to get, there's got to be 100 shades that you could get between these two. You can stop whenever you want. You know what I mean? And if you don't want it to be messy, you can literally either, pull some swatches, some different versions up here that you get. You can play anywhere on this card. You can color the entire card if you want. I mean, this is kind of fun. So I can literally color this whole watercolor card and make it into something that just keeps mixing these colors together so that I can learn more about the colors. So we just add water and let them blend into each other. I actually like this, doing it this way. This is my preference, but you don't have to. If this bothers you, some people, it really when I make a mess, it bothers them, but it's just my way. I really do like messy watercolors, and I think they're really fun to look at, right? So this is kind of teaching you how these colors look together, and I think there's no better way than looking at it like this. Now let's do this. Now we're going to start pulling in all these colors. Now I can't pull in that yellow like that, so I'm just going to grab it. And we're going to mix it together in the center. And what do you get? You get a leaning neutral. Now, whether this neutral is like more brown depends on how much of any color you add to it. If I add more red, I'm going to get more of that pinky brown neutral. If I add more blue, it's going to go back the other way, So you can literally use this great big circle to do anything you want. You can even like do a pie, right? So I'm going to get more of my Prussian neutral here. And then here I'm going to get more of my red neutral. And see how much you're learning about the colors now? Now I know this is like running away, right? Because I have so much water. But simple cure. So I'm just going to take a paper towel or a little napkin. We're just going to get some of the water off just before I get it all over. Just like that. But when this dries, it's really going to show me a history of what these colors did together. And I know it looks like a mess, but it's really not. This is really the essence of watercolor. This kind of a card is what watercolor is all about. This is what happens on paper as you paint with the different colors. So it's really great because all colors stem from the 3 primaries. Every color you buy is a convenience color if it's not a single pigment primary. So this is just showing you how to work with it. Now, how gorgeous would that be in a floral, right? Just starting with the 3. And I've done so many pieces of artwork just from 3 primaries that I just mix all together. So that's a learning card. I try to put at least one learning card in every subscription box, so that you can learn something really, really cool. Okay, so let's see. Now, we'll get rid of our dot card for now. This is the challenge card. So this is going to be something that you paint. You can paint it on the additional pieces of paper, no matter what size. It doesn't matter. You can choose any of the papers that I include. I include at least 4 to 6 to 8 sheets, depending on the subscription level that you have. Of course, if you've upgraded your subscription, the Duo is way better because it's just everything is larger, So this is the sampler. So the sampler is it's more watercolor than the dot card, although the dot card does have a lot of watercolor on it. But here's the deal. These are in pans, right? So you can literally put these into one of the tins. So every 3 months, I send you a tin to put these in. So the first month that you sign up, you're going to get a tin. And if you have this size, right, I would just cut these. They have magnets on the back. So just cut it, like cut 3 and put it there, and then just start filling this all in, or maybe 4, and then just start filling it in. This is the smaller tin that has the little clip on it to clip onto the notebook. Then there's also this size tin. I have several different kinds. It just depends, you know, it's random. This tin I like because it actually, the full 5 just sits right in here, right? I have to get this gold foil off. Let me see. It's actually just going to come off when we wet the watercolor. So I probably just will wait until I wet it. So this is kind of neat, right? I like this size, and these come in all different colors, all different styles, just depending on what we have. But this will do the job for several more months than just 3, of course. So you can keep them all in here, and then you can create a card with the watercolor paper. Just cut it and put it in there, and then just start labeling your watercolors. That's how I would store these. I find that the Duo subscription is a little easier for storage because you do have the actual little cases that these come in, right? But if you have a dot card, you can additionally cut the dot cards, you know, and like create a little notebook, like paste them into your notebook. And I purposefully, on these dot cards, I purposely give you this sheet of plastic so that if your dot cards are wet and you need to pile them up on each other, they won't stick together. So that is just really for convenience, and so that you can keep these together and you can literally pile them up. So whether you want to store them this way, you want to glue them into your page, you still, every time you use them, you can close it with this piece of paper. The next thing is the watercolor brush. So there's a series of watercolor brushes. Some people will get travel brushes that I carry on the website. There's a lot of different kinds of brushes that there's a new watercolor brush that comes in the some of the sets that I'm doing, and this is a great brush. I love it. It's really cool. I got 8s and 10s, so they're really easy to use. They've got a really nice point on them, and they do a great job at the watercolor. So whether you got this brush or the synthetic, which is one of my favorite brushes because it's such a workhorse brush, the synthetic I sell on the website, and it is a collaboration that I did with one of the watercolor brush companies, and I really love these brushes. They come in all different kinds. I personally really love the flats that they have, which are these. These are great. They really do a great job, and they paint so well. But you can get them in all color or all sizes, just depending on what's comfortable for you. So if you want to order additional brushes, then you're welcome to. But you do get one in the subscription on the first day, and then you also get one 3 times, or wait, you get one 4 times a year, right? So with the subscription box, you're going to get a tin and a brush 4 times a year, and then paint and all these learning resources every single month shipped to you. Here's something that's new as well, and these are hand pressed cards. So all of these are on watercolor paper, and they are pressed in different designs. Now I did start to offer some on the website because you guys really liked them. So there is one that is like a set of 3 that is like more of a dot card where the dots are on the paper, and it's hand pressed. And then there's another one that is a little bit bigger for framing. So it's 100% cotton watercolor paper. It's a larger sheet, and that's the designs on it. And then there's a separate dot card. So this one you buy individually and just pick what you like. And then this style comes usually in a set of 3. So those are cool. You might actually see some of these turning up randomly in the subscription boxes. Just depends. There's a lot of subscriptions that go out, guys. So sometimes I don't have, like, 1,000 of these to go in to everyone, but I do have several different styles, so I will try and pitch in some little freebies in there just to get you acquainted with some of the new products and, you know, give you a gift. So this is also one of the little gift cards, which is really fun because you can put your colors here and then try to paint with just the 3 colors. So it's a limited palette type of situation. And I'm also doing watercolor sketchbooks with everything pre-printed in there so that you can swatch your colors, get to know your colors, and then you'll have some free pages in your watercolor sketchbook. So keep an eye out for that as well. All right, so let's paint this, shall we? This is going to be fun. Coming up next, if you are going to stay with us and keep going, then as we go into the new year, January is upon us already. And what I have planned for you is this beautiful mountain. So the Majestic Mountain series palette is coming out, and you're going to be getting these colors, as well as if you upgrade your subscription to the Duo, you're also going to be getting these beautiful colors. Now, these are 5 handmade colors that I just put together for the January subscription, which is going to ship out December 15th. If you are paid by December 10th, you can have one of these subscriptions, but I'm already making them now, and I'm only making so many extra. So when we run out, if you're not paid by, you know, the first week in December, then you might have to wait until the February subscription goes out because I won't have enough and they need to dry. So just understand that depending on when you order your subscription, it takes 3 weeks to 4 weeks for everything to dry. And I only ship between the 13th or the 15th of the month to the 25th of the month. When that finishes, all those are gone and they're out. So if you order a subscription on the 20th of the month, it's going to be for the following month. It's not going to be for the subscriptions that started shipping on the 13th because we wouldn't have any, right? We would have to make them. So we move on. We don't stay with these subscriptions. So just so you know, these are made to order. So when your payment comes in, you go on the order page and 4 weeks later, poof, a subscription pops out, whatever that would be. So if that means you're going to get this one because you're in time, then great. If it means you have to wait till February because we don't have time to make that one, then that's what's going to happen. So that's how they roll out with so many subscriptions to do. But this is really cool. I love these colors. I think you guys are going to have a ball painting with them. So you will get samples of these in the Duo. That is the upgraded subscription package coming up. Okay, so the challenge cards. So basically you have 2 challenge cards with these paints. What did I do? Put them in I put them in the tin, right? And then I set the tin aside. I did. Hang on, let's get it. Okay, moving along. So, easily re-wet. Just put a little dot of color or a little dot of water in each one, and if there's a little bit of the thing stuck in there, don't worry about it, it'll come out later. So here it says use the colors to practice these shapes, then paint your own on the second sheet of paper and share the challenge with our Facebook group. So you can share this, you can share this, and you can share this to enter to win a gift card from the boutique. And oh, and by the way, this was one of the featured paints. Now, a lot of times the featured paints are all different. They're not all the same. I believe primarily people got Blue Mist in the Duos, the upgraded subscriptions, but there were some that I think we switched out just in case they might have already had it, or maybe we ran short of these. I'm not sure, but that was the for the Duo, the upgraded subscription, you got a quarter pan. Okay, so this is the Forest set by Schmincke. And one of the ways I'm going to use the larger tin, so we're just going to put it in the lid, because what I can do is I can see my colors really well and just use this. Just see what I'm doing here. Yes, I didn't wash my brush in between. Okay, so the first one is Forest Gray. And oops, I have to go backwards because I flipped my things over. So now to paint with granulating, these are granulating watercolors. So when you're painting with granulating watercolors, I want to remind you that they are meant to go a long way. You don't want to cake these on, or you won't get the best results from them. They are much better when they are mixed with a lot of water. So kind of get water on your brush and start in your tin, just kind of tapping through it and adding it a little bit of at a time, from lighter to more mass tone, to see what this color is. Now you're not really going to see this color really pop out until it starts to dry, because that's when you see the most granulation happen. This I'm going the right way, right? I hope I am. All right, so that was olive. The next one is forest. Oh, I'm painting in the wrong spot. I'm just a mess. Okay, let's just lift this off. There we go. So that is forest green. I'm just gonna go here. So I kind of give it more of a mass tone, and then I just move the water down and let it do its thing. And the more you split this apart and let it dance with water, the better it will look, because it is a granulating color, right? So you want them to be messy and watery and kind of fun like that, because that's where you're going to see the most magic happen. The next is a blue, forest blue. Primarily, all of the watercolors that I make at Jack's Watercolor, I make granulating colors because I just love them. They're so earthy and they're so much fun to paint with, and they have just so many surprises. This blue is pretty. It's almost like a blue-gray, you know, but still it's a green. It just has that gorgeous forest, you know, that forest life in it. Then the next one is the brown. The forest brown is really interesting because it definitely has a brown, but you don't see it right away. It's like a mahogany color that is behind, that just kind of comes out when it dries. And if the water, you know, like you have to have enough color, but also enough water to let the colors dance around and split. If there's not enough water, what will happen is they won't split, and you want the colors to split out. So you kind of want to like let them, like, you know, just kind of move your paper around and let them slide around on the color, and you will see the best that they're going to be. And the last one is forest gray, which is definitely more of the black kind of gray, but also gorgeous. Great for shadows. And they all work really well together, and you can even enhance these too. Like, get out your ultramarine and play with this set. Get out your cobalts and play with this set. You can add any blue to greens, because that's what we learned. So going back to our challenge card that I was showing you earlier, remember, this is why this is here. This is to teach you. If I take a little bit of this and I add it to this, I'm going to get even more beautiful colors, you know? And then, of course, if I add the red to it, what's going to happen? Well, we're over on the green. So if we go across, we're going to get a neutral, you know? Or if I add yellow to it, I'm going to get more greens. So that's what this is doing in that packet. It might not look like it goes, but it goes, because it's teaching you that you can add other colors to these colors and really just do something even more special. So what would I do with this? Okay, so let me just go ahead, and I'm just going to kind of shoot through it naturally and not think about it. Just choosing colors that I would choose for something like this, and then letting you know what I choose. So first I'm going to get this background nice and wet, and I'm going to use the forest blue to just kind of paint in a quick sky with lots of water, and just dab in a few things to get a lot of movement in that color. And then the natural water line that shaped the mountains, I'm just going to leave it. So what happened is I just automatically got a water line that was kind of uneven just by quickly doing that area. Okay. And if I wanted more and I wanted more texture, I could tap in some areas of this. And if I want less, then I can just remove it. Okay. You can even add water and get those blooms, which I love blooms with this kind of stuff. It's so fun. And if you feel like you've gone too far, then just tap it out. Tap some of that out. It'll look even better. It really will. You just have fun. Just don't be afraid of the watercolors, I think, is the big thing. So as we go on this line here, I want to do forest green, but I also want to kind of play with it in a way that that doesn't mix too much on this hard edge. Now, of course, this edge could dry and then I could go back and reestablish it. So right now I'm just going to, just for speed, I'm going to go right against the edge and not actually touch the edge. I'm just going to take this, set my paintbrush down and establish a neat edge and go in, down like that. Okay, just into those trees. And then I'm going to go on the other side with my green. And I'm going to do the same thing. And this is just, you know, something I like to play with and do. So you can see, and now I'm going to take some just water on my brush and I'm just going to swipe it here and create that like hazy kind of look in this area. And here. Now, this is a very controlled way to do it. You don't have to do it this way. You could pre-wet your paper if you just wanted to slide into that. So that's another way you could do it. But I'm just kind of showing you a way after the fact. And I'm just kind of going up into that line. And maybe while this is wet, I can just tap in some of the gray. Let's get it wet. Because as I tap in these other colors, they're going to just create a lot of what we want to see as texture. You don't have to work that hard. And that's one of the things I teach in the Granulating Watercolor class for beginners on my website. You can take this class and it teaches you all about how to use your colors to do something that is just amazing with your watercolor paintings, you know? Okay, so we want that to dry. You can take it all the way down if you want, but you're pretty much going to erase those lines. Now here, I'm going to use a different color because I want it to be more in the distance. So I'm going to water down, for me, I'm just going to water down my gray. And again, I'm leaving a little bit of that edge because I don't necessarily want to have blooms going up. And then I'm just going to drag it down that way, and that will create that, you know, feeling of distance. And then if I wanted a little more, I can just kind of tap in some areas. I can even add another color. If I've added too much color, I can drown it out with some water because that's what this stuff does. That's lovely. And if I want to blend it so I get like that misty look, I can add color and either take some away, just like that. And that will ultimately dry kind of with some texture. And it will show you some of the pretty colors in the watercolor. So let's go on to the next one because we need this to dry a little bit before I start adding more to it. But I will do this. Let's add like a little third color down at the bottom. So maybe forest brown, which is here. So I'm just gonna, again, just go in that tree line and just give it a little color. So we'll let this dry for now, because it has to dry before I can put another layer on it. Otherwise I'd have to scratch the layer of trees in there, which isn't a bad idea, but it's better if it just dries. And then this one, again, I still like the forest blue for the top, but this time I'm gonna pre-wet this area. And then I'm gonna take a really soppy brush with some forest, tilt my page, and we're just going to strike some areas in. And then I'm just going to color with water. You notice how I'm not worried about it, right? I'm just not worried about it. So I got my mountain line in. I have some forest blue. I can even go back in And again, that's another way of doing it with it more wet. Now we have what's called the bead, and this is the water bead. So the water bead, if you learn how to control it, you can literally use the water bead as your hard edge lines and paint down. And I really like doing that actually. So let me show you something that's kind of fun to do with this backdrop with that bead. Let's grab a spatula. So with my watercolors already doing pretty good here, I'm just gonna pick up some watercolor by putting it in here and maybe just take some of this. And I'm just gonna start scraping in some mountains. So this is another way to do it. So I'm just using the different colors that are in here, mixing them. You can mix them together. Don't worry about we can reestablish lines later. It's watercolor. You can do anything you want. The sky is the limit. Your limitations are only what you think you can do, never what you think the limitations are, because there are no limitations in art. None. You mess up, maybe it's a happy accident. I don't know. I usually think it is. Sometimes stuff that I really want to throw out, I go back later and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't throw that out. I love it. Or it's something that somebody was like, you need to teach me how to do that because I love that one. So see how I just swiped in some mountains? Aren't they looking cool? This is something I'm doing a lot with right now in my loose landscaping class because I'm just filming it and I'm having such a good time filming it. Isn't that beautiful and soft? As compared to this, right? It's a different way to go. This is more of my style because I'm a lot looser. But that's just how I am. So when I get up to here, and if I want it to be soft, then I leave it just kind of blend into the sky. But if I want it to be hard, I can actually kind of emboss the paper with the edge. I'll show you what that looks like. You see that embossing? I actually shaped out that mountain just by scratching into the paper with a little bit of watercolor. So just scratch it and then swipe like down. So just like that. Now you can use a twig. You can use anything. You use a plastic card to do this. You can do it with whatever. I actually like to layer the watercolors. But again, if you notice, I'm keeping this thing going. Don't you love what's happening here? Look at this. Those to me are just heaven. And I'm leaving a lot of white space. So now I'm looking here and I'm like, oh, there's trees. So let me take some of the gray. Let's put a little water. And I'm gonna now kind of go across with my spatula because this is the nicest way for me to make lines that look like water is just by dragging something that is flat, that is perfectly flat across. Because if I do this with a brush, I will never get it flat. It will look like we have like a storm coming. It will definitely look like there's a storm. And I'm just kind of playing with different colors. Like I'm tapping into the green and I'm tapping into the brown here and then the olive. And I'm just scraping it back and forth just for fun, using the spatula to establish those lines in the watercolor paper. And I'm kind of digging in, you know, like some I'm tilting it like this way and then some of them I'm flattening it. Yep, so fun. And then here, because this is kind of like a little island, I'm just going to remember that there's a little shape there. And again, leaving lots of white space. So mixing in some water. Once again, you can use anything that's flat and kind of sharp so that you can bring this across. And you just want, you know, that really loose kind of feel. Now, as I'm in the front here, I'm using a little bit more like this little area here that has more water because I just really don't want a very, very hard edge in the front. And then here, I'm going to bring this down like this. as like a shadow of something that's up here. Okay, and that's kind of going to look like the trees are reflected downwards. And that's just as simple as that. You don't have to go crazy with the shape of the trees in the water. You just have to bring lines this way, and the eye will do the rest. So these are going to be where my trees are. And you can do this over and over again, just having fun and coming up with different things. You know, this is how I would do my Christmas cards, actually. Okay, so next, what are we going to do? Well, you know, I'm going to follow this trend, and let's just take some olive on my spatula, and I'm going to olive up a few trees. So what I'm doing here is I'm just establishing a few weird tree lines by digging into the paper and leaving some of the pigment. You can do this sparsely, you can do it more layered. You can mix colors. I'm grabbing some gray. I like to mix colors because it always comes out unique. I like them to mix together on the paper. I think that's why I make my own watercolor, because I just have always done it that way. You know, I learned that way, and it's just part of my process, I think. Okay, then I'm kind of going in and just randomly just gonna make it messy. Okay, there I go with the messiness again. So you can kind of see where this is going, right? So now we're gonna let this dry because I want to go back and do the trees, but I don't want to do them over wet on wet just yet. I mean, you could do a little bit, right? So we could take the tip of my brush, take some of the color, and we could just tap in a little bit into where the water is. But what I would do is I wouldn't finish them. I would just kind of hold your brush at the end and tap in a few so that it bleeds, just for fun, if you want to see what it looks like. So just tapping in some crisscrosses. I actually have some people that just leave it like that. You know, I mean, as like a very impressionistic kind of tree. And I don't mind that, actually. I think that's neat. Another way that you can do it too is if it's a larger sheet of paper, you could actually use the side of your brush to tap things in. You know, you just have to kind of go with whatever it is that you've got going on the paper. So the artist is the one, right? So you can see how I'm starting just to kind of give us some impression of trees, right? And the least I do to them, the more they sink back into the background, but they're still kind of framing this area in the mountain, which is really nice. Now here, what are we going to do with this one? So this one's dry now. So let's add some texture to the mountains. I'm going to, since this is working on this paper so well, because it's a textured paper, I'm just going to grab some of the color that's in here, and I'm just going to scrape it. Just scrape it right in there. Just like that. Okay, if it didn't scrape enough, use some paper towel and take some away. If you feel that there's some of these areas are too harsh, just use a paper towel and take some away. I'm going to take another color, which is the green, and just kind of add my texture. And remember, this doesn't have to be like all one layer. Like this could be another mountain. We could carve that like that. We could make these more textured. This doesn't have to be one block. These can be multiple layers, right? Just by carving them. But what I would do is maybe look at some pictures to see how mountains kind of look in pictures, so that you don't get confused as to which the style lines, where the style lines should be. So here, I think I'll leave the mountains over here, and here I'm going to start laying in like a tree line, just by quickly just giving myself some reference. So I'm using just some sparse ones as a reference. And then I'm going to take a darker color and just kind of frame this in a little bit. Now this is just what I'm seeing in my head. You don't have to do it this way. In fact, I encourage you to do whatever it is you want. So I'm rubbing on some color to create a frame. Then I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to kind of roll a damp brush over it just to blend it. You can also use your fingers. So that just kind of filled in that area with some darks and some lights, right, for my trees. And then here, I can actually make it a little more misty just by adding some water. So I'm just going to floof it back here. There we go. I maintained that line because that had dried. So you remember I had left it, so that had dried. So I be careful not to rub that line out. Now let's go ahead and start adding in some trees. Now this is a big brush for trees on this size paper, but I kind of liked where I was going with this. So for me, I think I'm just going to use the point on this, and I'm just going to kind of speckle in a few trees at first with one of the darker colors. So this color that I'm using right now is the forest blue. And we really can use almost, I would say, use 3 colors into your trees. And if you really want it to look interesting, don't use all the 3 colors in every tree. Like I'm going to put some of the blues over here, but now I'm going to switch to the green. Okay. And I'm just going to dense up this forest a bit. I actually really like these impressionistic trees. I was going to do more, I was going to do different trees, but I'm kind of like in love with this like really crazy impressionistic tree. So what do you do with this at this point, right? There's a couple of things you can do. So I can keep going like this, or I can even switch brushes and use a thinner brush. So let's see what I got here. I can just grab this one. It's a little, it's just here. Just take some, and I'm actually going to hold it up so that I do it very loosely. And I'm doing a mixture of dots and crisscrosses. And if I feel that a tree wants to set into the background, all I have to do is just dry it out a little bit more. And then I have my shape there, but it's kind of not so far forward. Now that part I'm just kind of establishing by eye. So whether or not I keep it that way, you know, this is just a quick fun sketch. Probably by the time you do like 3 of these, you'll have a different opinion about what you want to do. So I would recommend using all your sheets and just having a good time. That's why I sent you paper. I'm actually, if I get too much watercolor in this really small sheet, then I just dab it out. But until I kind of get something that I feel has a mixture of the lights and the mass tones, but not too much. But look at how neat that looks. I actually love this. It's just a series of dots, but because of what we're painting, you like you read it, right? You understand what it is. And here I'll do a few, but mostly I'm just going to kind of do some squiggles. Very impressionistic trees. I'm a big fan of like Monet and Van Gogh and impressionist artists. I've always been. Now I do some portraits that are very, very realistic, and I do have renderings that I've done, architectural renderings that are very realistic, but I prefer the most relaxing thing that I do is really impressionistic and very loose, and at some point even non-existent, right? Just having fun and letting the colors go crazy. Okay, so this is something you can do right here. I really like the way this turned out, but just for the sake of fun, just to make sure that you're loose, let's just spray this side with water, okay? Because I don't want you to be afraid of your watercolor. So I'm just letting it go right here, and then I'm gonna tap it out and just see how that dries. I actually think it's going to kind of spread it and make it like kind of more wispy, right? And more exciting. But I can always add a layer. I can always scrape some out. I can take some out, whatever, it doesn't matter. But we're going to see what that side looks like compared to this side. I actually love this. I think this is so cool. So that one is there. So now let's go back and we'll look at the trees on this one. I can't wait to see what you guys do with this. I really can't. So remember, it's granulating watercolor. So what I'm going in and doing is I'm just kind of moving some of these little puddles around because I want them to show off their beauty. I don't want to forget that this is granulating watercolor. So when you look at this, I want these beautiful granulating lovely pieces to show up. Let's get a little zoom in on this so that you can see what I mean. Okay, so you see what I mean? Like these areas here, see how it's granulating, and it's just lovely. So I want to just kind of make sure that I'm not trying to paint so hard with the granulation that I'm losing the granulation and not letting it do its lovely thing. So now I have a very thin brush, and I'm going to create just some like little chevron patterns for my trees. And I'm trying not to be real even with them. I just want the eye to see a few little lines here and there peeking through these little white spaces. So I'm not covering the white spaces, but I am utilizing the white spaces to tell the story of the trees. See what I mean? I find that especially on smaller pieces, it's kind of more fun to do it this way because it's relaxing and you just have fun with it. If you try and get in there and do real detail work, probably flowers, but with landscaping, I feel they need a little more, they need a little more space. So just kind of feathering those out and just doing them different with a different color each time. Just kind of picking up some stuff. You can see I haven't even touched these, right? Like there's literally so much watercolor. And this is the same as the dot cards. Literally, there's like 3 times as much watercolor in here as the dot cards. But the dot cards aren't going to go anywhere either. You're going to do well. But I can say that slowly but surely I'm phasing out the dot card subscription. So eventually everybody does have to switch to the Duo, because ultimately we're just going to be doing some really cool things with these that it just won't translate into the smaller package at all. So unless you just want to receive a dot card, like you're welcome to, but I don't recommend it because I think you're going to be disappointed when you see all of the different things we're putting in the upgraded package. So if you sign up, you can no longer even get the smaller package because there's no point. Everything that's really cool and fun is happening in the larger package now. Okay, so that's what I did. Now, things that I love that happened here, I love this, right? We added a whole lot of water, and then I just kind of went in and I remember I was just striking colors. You can back up this and watch it again to see how I got here. And that's what I recommend, is seeing these now dry and then going back and seeing how much water or what tool I used and where the way that I got there. I think that makes a huge difference when you're backtracking on these videos. I love this. This is my favorite one by far. And the reason why it's my favorite one is because there's more white space. There's more white space. There's like gorgeous white space back here, here. I love that. I love this down here. I think this area is gorgeous down here. It's beautiful. I even like the reflections. So, and I like the symmetry of the way the lines are going, and I left a lot of light. So to me, this is my favorite one, and the one that wins for me in my own personal space. I far love the way this turned out. This one I like too. I like some things. I don't like when I wet the whole thing on this one. I think it's okay, but I don't like how it blended as much. So I probably would go back in and remove that. And then I would add color back in. Looking at it, I do really love this though. This is like right there. This, I could just frame that part. All right, so that's this month's challenge. I will be back again with more videos for you guys. I've got lots and lots of videos to make for all of these cards and things that we're going to be doing. And I hope you guys are enjoying the subscription and having a great time. Don't forget, always look out for the pink envelopes. I've got these ones and then some other ones going out to the basic subscriptions are also hot pink ones. Have a great one, you guys, and thank you so much for watching and being part of this community. I'm having such a good time with you and loving seeing all of your entries for the challenges.